Lovely to have Dominik with us tonight. I've known Dominik for quite a long time. He's a really creative person working within the realm of art, sustainability, design, and technology. He writes on themes of sustainability and design, and is probably best known now for his book, Digital Permaculture. As an artist, he works primarily with mixed media, using old computer parts, floppy disks, hard drives, circuit boards, these kinds of things as material for his work. And Dominik says that his art is a reflection on humanity, habitat, and the environment. And as someone who spends an awful lot of time next to a computer, I really love the idea of converting it into a creative art form, and not just more work. So yeah, that's very appealing. And I think also I really wanted to say that Dominik has done a lot of work to help make the European Permaculture Network work. It's gone through many iterations over the years. I was one of the people that did was part of one phase of the European Permaculture Network or two phases, and yeah, it's a lot of work. And sometimes when you leave things, you're just very grateful that someone else has picked it up, and that's certainly the case here. Very grateful that Dominik has picked that up and built a team around it, and that's continuing to develop. So a big thanks to that as well. And if you haven't seen the European Permaculture Network website, then we'll share that later on as well. So yeah, I'm really interested to hear in what you have to say tonight, Dominik. Tools and technology is a kind of key area in permaculture, but I think it's mostly overlooked. I don't think it gets enough attention. It is a petal on David Holmgren's kind of permaculture flower diagram, but how much do we consciously design for the technology that we use? And how much are we just enmeshed in the digital world as it is without really thinking or questioning the technology that's around us? So yeah, I'm hoping that Dominik's going to help us to think about what opportunities there are for us to think about technology and to act differently in this space. So with no more from me, I will pass to Dominik. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for having me here today, and thank you for all the participants who joined today. Amazing, so many people. Wow, I get a little bit nervous now. Okay, so let me share the presentation. Okay, everyone's seeing this. Just hands up, Charlie. Do you see it? Okay, perfect. Good. Then full screen mode should be fine. Okay, digital permaculture today. Actually, a first one. So yeah. 1 second to preview. Good. So yeah, like 40 minutes, I have 40 slides. That gives me like, or 42 slides. That gives me a minute per slide. So let's see if that works out. If not, it does. It's okay. The presentation is based on my book. So yeah, Digital Permaculture. And the presentation, you will get the link to the presentation at the end, is licensed under Creative Commons, non-commercial share alike 4.0 international. And the whole presentation is actually written in software. It's written in Reveal.js. So already a novum here. Okay, so what will this be about today? We are going to explore what digital permaculture actually is, why it is needed, and how we use permaculture design, and I like to stress out permaculture design, in our digital life. Okay, the whole presentation is made for people with non-IT background. So if you're not a coder and you have no clue about the digital realm, no worries. It's pretty basic stuff. First things first, I got 2 links for you. Actually, probably don't need that because you already kind of mentioned yourself in the chat, but I give you a little bit more. Um, so chat. Hey, where's the chat window? Here we go. So I'd like you to go to menti.com, click the link in the chat. And the question is, what is permaculture for you? So shouldn't take too long. Let's give it some seconds. Oh yeah, we already get some responses: ecological, ethical, ethics, community, design, earth care, international, interesting, inspiring. Whoa, we got a whole lot of diversity here. Whoa, there are more and more popping up. This is amazingly cool. Design response, intentional, a way of life, design framework, collaboration. So I see design quite often, also community. Pretty cool. The second link I'd like to give you is to a Padlet. Um, this you can fill in over time if you want to introduce yourself, or if you have a project that you'd like to introduce there, or if you have something specific about digital permaculture. I already read in the chat that we have Sunny who is designing something with technology, so perhaps place a link there. Okay, first things first done. Okay, as we all know, or hopefully know, we have three pillars at permaculture, and we have our ethics. We have, of course, design, and we have the context, and context is very important here. And only two of those won't work. It always needs these three kind of together. You can combine ethics and design and leave the context out, then you just turn yourself around in a meta discussion, and it's just abstract idealism. If you just combine design and context without ethics, and we see in the IT world quite often, it's exploitation. And if you just combine ethics and context and you don't do any design work, then you have some good intentions, but nothing follows. So no impact. So we need all three of those. And that brings us to the ethics. So we have our earth care, people care, and fair share. I don't want to go into those now. I just want to introduce you to my version that I personally prefer. It's the limits of resources and consumption and redistribution of surplus. It's a little bit closer to Mollison's original notion on the third ethic. We have design. Design is very important for us. We are designers. It's called, or Mollison's book, the big one, it's called Permaculture Designer's Manual. It's not the gardener's manual. It's not the farmer's manual. It's a designer's manual. So Mollison was always clear, permaculture is the subject of design. So that's why we have things like the Diploma in Applied Permaculture Design with the UK Permaculture Association. And I highly recommend doing it. It's awesome. 10 designs, go for it. So the most important one for me, because it's digital permaculture, is the context. The subject of what a designer is going to design defines the knowledge that is required from the designer. So if you're going to design a food forest, you need to know your stuff around food forests. If you go for agroforestry, for syntropic farming, or whatever is there, as you need to know your stuff. So this is the context, and the context is basically limitless. And the interesting part is that you can switch the context on for nearly everything. And this allows it for digital to be part of permaculture. So we are now in the digital realm. One interesting story. When I finished the diploma, I called a friend of mine. I needed some information about a meeting. And we had a discussion about the diploma, and he asked me, "Hey, how do you learn it all?" I was like, define all, because there is no all, because all knowledge, there's so much knowledge, it's faster created than we can learn it. So there is no all. Okay. So what is digital permaculture? I'll just read that for you. Digital permaculture is the
Dominic, can I just check that you're moving the slides forward because we're still on the first one.
what? What do you mean?
I'm seeing one that says first things first. So is that,
Okay, this is not moving for you.
thank you, Kim, for pointing that out.
Okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, now I can see what is digital permaculture, digital ethics and design.
Okay, this jumped. Just give me a short feedback. Is it working for you? Is it sliding?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Sorry for that.
No, that's fine.
No
Technology.
Thank
worries.
you. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you, Andy.
Okay, I just read that for you. Uh, Digital permaculture is the conscious and considered use of digital tools and systems in a way that aligns with the ethics of permaculture. It involves designing and implementing digital solutions that are sustainable, even regenerative, and beneficial to individuals and communities. So we still require our ethics, we still require our design, and now it's digital, the context. So just a quote or just a sentence to think about. If permaculture is designed for sustainable living systems, then digital permaculture is designed for sustainable digital systems. So we remember what Andy mentioned in the beginning. He mentioned Holmgren's permaculture flower and the petals. And I just like mm, used 5 minutes to actually think about what else there could be in the digital realm. And I came up with a lot of different subcontexts, which I call so. And it's not just tools and technology that we are in digital permaculture. We are basically in all the pedals because digital permaculture is also very social. So it's not just always about the tools or about IT. It's all that surrounds it. So yeah, rare earths mining. So this is land and nature stewardship. Then our tablets or computers, these tools and technology. Then the platforms we are actually using for our education are there, the IT courses or the like Zoom here, platform we are using for education. For health and spiritual well-being, digital minimalism is a thing, or also digital detox. In finance and economics, we have cryptocurrencies. They are there. They are not going away at the moment. But it's also about ethical monetization, open source funding models, or yeah, in general, open source, edge computing. So there's a lot, and this is just 5 minutes. There's a whole world of digital permaculture, and it's like always, start at your zone zero and work your way outwards. So this already kind of answered a little bit why things are needed or why digital permaculture is needed. Our digital technology is basically everywhere. We all require like computers in order to be in front of those screens we are now at the moment. And then a lot of people have these here in their pockets or other gadgets. So the digital is basically everywhere. It surrounds us entirely and all the time. And it has implications, like I said before, rare earth mining. That's an issue. And so the digital world comes with the social and ethical implications, and also the implications for our planet. So, um, negative outcomes, they are huge. If you look at privacy issues, if you remember the Cambridge Analytical Facebook scandal in 2010, when suddenly millions of user data were used to actually have micro-targeting going on. There is no week I don't come across any of those scandals, major and minor, doesn't really matter. There's always something happening in that world. Uh, we have environmental degradation. I already mentioned that. Then social isolation is a thing. We have the digital divide. This is actually research that's happening. So people that don't have access to certain technologies because of bandwidth limitations, There's a lot of it. I actually wrote a whole chapter about it in my book. And latest and greatest, the biased AI. Okay, but these are just some considerations and some concerns. So this list can go on and on and on. Fortunately, there is actually in the IT movement already sustainable and ethical approaches happening. They're not as deep and as far as we'd like to have them, but they're there. They're like in Berlin, there's a conference, is Bits and Bäume, so quite interesting to follow. At the Chaos Communication Congress that's happening every year, at the end of the year, there is always a talk about sustainability in IT. So there are people there. It's just we are not that many yet. So hopefully with digital permaculture, we get a little bit more. Okay, so we have an ethical framework, we have permaculture design, we have the processes, we have the tools. So let's get to work. Let's do things. Okay. So, but before we do that, let's have some few numbers just for the significance to sink in a little bit more. So we have about 5.5 billion internet users. So this is 86, 68% of the population. About 3 billions of them use WhatsApp. I don't know if you can imagine like 3 billion people using one app that is controlled by one entity. From the European Permaculture Network, some numbers. So there are 200 members, and out of the 200 members are 40 on Facebook. So this is like 20%. And out of the 100 projects that are hosted, there are 50 on Facebook. So 50%. So it's kind of difficult to get around those large scale companies. And that's actually one of the biggest problems we have. Gamam, so that's Google, Amazon, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, Meta, Apple and Microsoft, and these are multi-billion dollar companies, and they shape how we act on the internet, our digital lives, how they are. So this is a lot of things they can do without us have a saying in it. Uh, there was an interesting photo. Sorry, but this is in the links. That's in the sources. I can't open that now. There was an art installation here in Helsinki, and it showed how long actual the printed versions of the terms and conditions of large internet companies are. So like if you're going to Facebook, no one ever reads the terms and conditions because they are take you up to an hour to actually read. And then you haven't understood them, so you have just read them. 1 hour, up to 1 hour. That's crazy. What really got me thinking, and this was a recent conversation with my partner, Lumia, she brought to my attention research about the amount of time people spend in front of screens. And it was shocking. I mean, as an IT guy who works in IT, I know that it's a lot, but that the average is like 6 hours and 45 minutes. This was a lot to me. And if you accumulate all that over your lifetime, like let's say we're getting 80 years old and the first 10 years we are not in front of screens, this is 21 years. 21 years in front of screens, not in our gardens, in front of screens. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is to go to Mentimeter again. And I post the link into the chat, and I hope this works. And this is just a question about to see how much time people spend in front of screens in the permaculture community. Okay, just give it a little bit. I go there and see if Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, let's give it a little bit more time. Yeah, okay. So more than 6 hours, 8 people, more than 3 hours, three, more than 1 hour, one, and less than 1 hour, zero. So we have kind of the same thing, spending a lot of time in the digital realm. So we can't be in an unethical, undesigned environment for 21 years. It's impossible. We actually must. It's more like a must than a need. We must apply permaculture design and ethics onto our digital life. Okay, so how do we do this actually? So how can we design our digital lives the same as we design our gardens? So just a thought for now. We need to dive a little bit into permaculture concepts before we can actually answer that, how to do this. The important part is we have our ethics, and ethics are always universal. You can adapt them to anything, apply them to anything. With the principles, it's a little bit more difficult. Holmgren's principles, the 12, they are universal. I think uh, David thought a lot of time about these, and so you can just use them in the digital world as you use them in your garden. There's no difference. I made some examples in the book, how they could be used, how they could be interpreted. But they're far more universal than molasses are. So I took Holmgren's for the book. Zones and sectors as a concept are universal, but only if we use a very universal definition of the zones. So do the slides still switch? Just a thumbs up. Are they still?
Yep, doing
Yep.
fine.
Good, perfect. Thank you, Andy. So the most universal definition I came across was in the Permaculture Institute of Australia and the news from them. And it's written by Joshua Finch. And Joshua is an American researcher who is currently living in Finland working for Novia School. He is into agroforestry research project at the moment. And what he wrote, it stuck with me. And it was that zones are a function of time, of frequency of visit and duration of stay. And this is so far the most universal one I come across. And since it's so universal, it can easily be transferred into the digital realm. The frequency of using a piece of hard and software and the duration of usage. Okay, so this for zones. Now the sectors. For sectors, this is a discussion I had with Douglas Laughlin, and he pointed out that the sectors are energies that impact the site. So it's pretty simple, basic, straightforward. And that can be transferred into the digital realm as well. So the external influences that impact our hard and software choices. So, okay, with the ethics in place, it's universal, with the principles of Holmgren universal, and with the zones and sectors kind of adapted, we have our toolbox, so to say, to be able to start designing. What do we do when we start designing? We would start with a survey, but we are in the digital realm, and in the digital realm, we have something very special. We have licenses. So our software and even the hardware gets licensed usually. And we have like 2.5 or let's say 3 categories, broad categories. And the biggest difference is between the proprietary software on the one side and the open source software on the other side. So Proprietary means I have no say at all, nothing. I don't see the code, so I can't read it. I only can kind of run the software. I have to sign up usually to something called an EULA. That's an end user license agreement. I have to accept that. And because I don't see the code and I don't have the source code, I only have the compiled version, I cannot look into it, I cannot edit it, and I cannot redistribute it. And with open source, all that changes. So with open source, I have the source code. I can read it, I can check it out, I can see if it's really doing what it should do, if I can, of course. I'm able to modify it, and I'm able to redistribute that modification. Yeah, and of course I can run it as I please. So this is what Richard Stallman calls the four freedoms. The big difference between open source software, OSS, and free and open source software is the perspective. Open source software is more from the developer's perspective, and their free and open source software is more from the user's perspective. So they both are basically the same licenses. Only the difference is the one is more of a social movement and the other is a development model. So it's more like the philosophy of open source, so to say. Probably Richard Stallman will crucify me for that, but yeah. Um, if I could ask a question, I would ask, which one do you think aligns better with permaculture? So open source or proprietary? What do you think? Open source? Yeah, it's open source, so definitely. So, and the free and open source software probably aligns the best from my perspective, but I'm already good enough when it is open source. So, yeah, but you can say, I don't care. Yeah, I know it's a standard thing usually to like 20 years ago, I didn't care neither. So for me, this wasn't a thing like in back in 1997 or so, before I came to Linux. Um, but yeah, actually, you should care. We are permaculture designers, so we have to evaluate. Oh, sorry, give me a second. We have to evaluate our options. So we have to survey our options that we have in our design. It's something we do in the beginning of a study-met process. And our choices have to align with permaculture ethics, so there is no way around that. And really, do we want to support multi-billion-dollar companies with our choices? Just because we don't give them money doesn't mean we give them anything. So from somewhere they must live. So what's their business model? Good question, probably. So open source software can help promote collaboration, transparency, community-driven development. Actually, we have Amy Fenech here from their Permaculture Collab. And there we had a research project where we researched the alternatives for Slack. So to see how we can replace that piece of software with something that aligns with permaculture and is even better for the community. And the project has now finished. So our collab is in the process of moving to Discourse, which is an open source software. Okay, so yeah, support your free and open source software and your open source software. Okay, so now just an example, what you could do. We build a digital environment, inventory, sorry. We build a digital inventory. And what that means is we start our survey process. We check what soft and hardware we are having, we are using, and we categorize it and we list it. So we see what we have, because usually, when you kind of start with all that, you have no clue of what software, of what hardware you're really using. So the basic question would be, what hardware do I own? When have I bought it? Was it a conscious decision actually, or did a friend tell me I have to buy that, or was it peer pressure? So where did the actual decision come from? What's their licensing model? Is it an open system or is it proprietary? And am I locked in? Am I on an Apple system and I cannot get away from it? I have to only use Apple and nothing else. And then have I used, or is it leased hardware, or is it hardware that someone else gave me? So is it someone else made the decision for me because it's a association's laptop or a company's laptop, or so it's out of my hands. So how does this actually look like? So this is mine, but it's now from 2023, so it's a little bit older. I have to actually update it. So I have my hardware layer 0, a self-built PC. Self-built means I have put the components together, so quite old actually. My ebook reader is even older, smartphone, etc., etc. So you get these lists, this table of what you're actually having. So I just picked two people now. Gareth, let me ask you. So what's your most used communication tool?
Well, it'd be either my phone or my laptop. Probably my phone these days, if I'm perfectly honest. That runs Android, but with Sony modifications. So
Okay.
some aspects of proprietary in there, I think.
Was it a conscious decision?
It was a conscious decision. I've been interested in open source and things since before I knew of permaculture, in fact. And I picked this phone in particular because it was small, and I picked it because Lineage OS supports it. It turned out that I couldn't put Lineage OS on it because the bootloader is locked because the last previous
Yeah,
owner
yeah.
had put in the wrong code too many times. So that's it for that one. So one day I might get a bit further down that line, but for the moment, that's what it is.
Okay, thank you for sharing and good luck with the phone.
Thank you.
Okay, is it Shane or Janne? I'm not quite sure. Paige, Janne, Paige? No? You're muted. You have to unmute.
It keeps muting itself. I have a 30-year-old Nokia phone. It's always there with me, and it still works.
Great stuff.
I do have a Dell computer, desktop, and that's my day-to-day usage.
And everything was a conscious decision during that time.
Yes, I'm not convinced about digital and whatever.
Okay, too long ago.
If the satellite goes down, we are going to be stuck. We rely on it too much.
I envy you for that. 30 years, that's like a nearly Guinness World Record. I'm not sure, but it's in the direction of it. Amazing. Thank you for that. Okay. I hope you all had a good time. So we continue. So that was that. We go to the software inventory. So we have the hardware, now it's the software. So this is a little bit more difficult because usually we use a lot of software. And for me also SaaS, this is software as a service. This is the websites you go to that help you with something like Canva that helps you create flyers or stickers or whatever. This is software for me as well. So what software are we currently using? License model. Why are we using it actually? Was it a conscious decision? Who's developing it? Company. If it is a company, what's their revenue? Is it a multi-billion-dollar company or is it the software shop around the corner? Or is it actually a sweatshop in India? So, is there any alternative if it's not open source? Have you considered an open source alternative for it? And always locked-in systems, if you are at Apple or something like that, locked-in systems are a big concern. Okay, I would give you another 5 minutes for that. Or actually, wait a second. This is an example now, what you see. And this is a very simple one. There is actually just the software listed that I'm using. And, oh, it's not working. I get a telephone call here. Sorry for that. 1 second. Okay, so this is just a very easy version of a very simplified version of a software inventory, and this is just basically for my main computer. Okay, the one thing that I introduced in digital permaculture, additionally to the adoptions, are layers. Because zones are not enough when you're dealing with hardware and software. So we have the hardware layer, short HL, and the software layer, SL. And you already have seen that I have kind of used software layers, so from 0 to 5, like the zones. And I used hardware layers, also from 0 to 5. So how does this work? So example, software layer, what's up on your phone? Shortcut on the home screen, because you have it on your front screen. And you use it 2 hours a day. So software layer 0, because it's your main communication tool. It's your main phone. You have it with you all the time. It's the hardware layer 0. And it's in the physical zone 0, usually with you at home. So, sorry, it's your main phone, hardware layer, sorry. Main phone, hardware layer 0. It's always with you, zone 0. So the shortcut writing, zone 0, hardware layer 0, software layer 0. And this is how you can categorize or how you can layer your software. And you work from zone 0, hardware layer 0, software layer 0 to zone 5, hardware layer 5, software layer 5. So it's now a little bit more dimensional, basically. I give you an example from my survey where I went through all the software on my main computer, and this is from the email I'm using. And I'm using Thunderbird. Thunderbird is an email client that runs local on your computer. And it's open source. It's developed by the Mozilla Foundation. Mozilla also develops a Firefox browser. I use this like since 2010, and before that I used proprietary stuff, but also open source stuff. So Kmail is open source. Netscape Navigator, I think during that time was open source. There are a lot of alternatives available. So as Andy already mentioned, Gmail is there. For me, the big part or the coolest part of Thunderbird is it uses or offers encryption, if you know how to do that, and it stores my mails offline. So if I want to go through some emails and I don't have an internet connection, I can still do this. So for me, this was a conscious choice during that time. And we all know permaculture always works reciprocal, so it always works both ways. Just because it's open source doesn't mean money comes from somewhere. So I usually pay like 30 euros a year to the Mozilla Foundation. I donate money to them because it's it's software layer 0, hardware layer 0, zone 0. It's so important to me that it's worth its money to pay to support the movement. Okay. Yeah. Okay, this is just more a slide of like to remind us why we are actually gathering this information. We want to make informed decisions. We want to design our digital lives. We want the ethics in our digital lives, the permaculture ethics. We want to reduce the carbon footprint, digital carbon footprint. This is also a thing, especially if we are using a lot of websites. We come to that now. Yeah, and digital sovereignty. This is also who actually has the ownership of the data that we constantly put somewhere. I suggest reading the terms and conditions of Instagram and Facebook. Might be interesting to find out who actually owns that stuff. Yeah, and so on. There are a lot of reasons why we have a very thoroughly going survey from a very private perspective going on here. So, and then after that, it's standard permaculture design if we are in a SADIM process. So we analyze, we design, we make our implementation plans, we implement, and we monitor. And yes, small changes in just some parts make big differences over time. So choose the software that you want to switch and find the alternatives for it. Try them and see what they bring to your life. This is now one of my beloved topics. These are the websites because I'm a senior Drupal website architect. So I have like 20 years of knowledge in website development. And I became interested in the carbon footprint of websites. And what I did for the book was I measured the actual data, the amount of data that gets transferred. And there are nowadays websites like Website Carbon, with which you can see the actual carbon footprint of a website for a page load. Okay. So I went through some of the major permaculture associations websites and I checked their data usage. So this can be easily done. This is public knowledge basically because a website is like the source code is visible at one point. So let's get into it. The gold standard that we have is the Low Tech Magazine by Chris de Decker, especially his solar-powered website. I think Anton from the Digital Circle got the Digital Circle website down below 300 kilobytes. This is 0.3 megabytes. So kudos to him. This was very interesting work to follow what he did there. Then we have the European Permaculture Network. This is close to Chris de Decker's gold standard. Then we have my homestead, Beyond Buckthorns, below 1 megabyte, and then it makes a huge jump already. So the Permaculture Collab then with 3 MB. I already kind of talked to Avi about that. We have to get that down somehow. The Permaculture Association Denmark with 8 megabytes nearly, Permaculture Association Finland with 8 MB, and so on and so on. And the Permaculture Institute Germany with 25 megabytes. You have to remember that this stuff is now also being transferred through to phones via 5G, 4G, whatever. So the smaller the amount of that what we have to press through those networks, the better it is. From my perspective, everything above 10 MB needs optimization. Everything below 1 megabyte is extremely good. It's on their low carbon footprint websites. And if you are using green hosting, there are actually databases that track the servers of the world, or actually the data centers. And if those data centers are using green energy, and in this database, you can check the domain against their database and see if it is green energy hosting. So yeah, the Permaculture Collab is switching away to green energy. The migration is what is Amy writing? And we are going green once the migration is complete. Yes, so this is currently happening, I think. So nearly there. Yeah, it's important that we kind of keep track of that stuff because the more hit rates, what has happened here? The bigger the hit rates of our website, so the more visitors we have and the more data we transfer, the more carbon we emit, the servers emit. They have to work for that stuff. So this is a use case just from the European Permaculture Network. So I got a little bit bored about these carbon footprint heavy websites in the permaculture community, and then thought this must be done in a better way. There must be a way to actually kind of get our websites sustainable. So this was a lot of work, and the important part that I learned at the end is don't use third-party plugins. So no Google Analytics, no Google Fonts, no third party at all. So the data, the privacy of the data is given. It's only with that one entity. Yeah, so have a look, go to the European Permaculture Network, and of course, register if you like what we are doing there. So one general thought that is not just for website, but of general importance, it's the hierarchy of the different types of data we are emitting everywhere. And it's a little bit like a triangle that widens to one side. So the smallest what's possible is text. Okay, so text is good. Then the image, and from the image it depends how large and yeah, how many megapixels basically, and what kind of color space it is. So there are multiple things to images. Then audio, and it depends on the compression. So MP3 or so, yeah. And then comes video. And then within the video, it's about the resolution. So their de facto standard is since years 1080p. So this is HD. But we are already looking at 4K. And not just at 4K, we are looking at 8K, and we are looking at immersive 3D videos. So you can imagine that the data we are transferring at the moment will increase and increase and increase. And it's actually, there is statistics around that the data increases and increases. So we need to be conscious a little bit about kind of what we use for what. Do we always need a video for that? Or is text or written good enough? Or is it actually an audio that's good enough? Is a podcast better than a video for some stuff? So this needs proper evaluation depending on who we need to address and what we need to address. So there's a little bit of advertisement for those of you that want to check out sustainable websites. So I wrote a blog post at the company I co-own. Oh, that's not working. So this is like, if you're into website, this is a checklist, what you could do. And if you have a website that you like to get checked for sustainability, then we offer that as a service. Yeah. Do you know the story about the famous last sentence? Do you know what the famous last sentence usually is? It's usually hold my beer and watch this. But in the digital realm, it's of course a little bit different. We have some patterns that are kind of undesigned digital habits. And probably you heard some of those sentences below. So let's open a Google Drive. Let's open a WhatsApp group. Let's Zoom. I can run WordPress. We need to be on Facebook. It's where the users are. So probably have heard one of those. So I suggest to kind of then ask questions like, do we really need to? Can't this be done in another way? Is there an alternative? Okay. I just have one slide on high-tech waste because I'm not really a specialist into high-tech waste. I dove into the topic for some time, but high-tech waste is its real own big subcontext for digital permaculture. The amount of high-tech waste is growing, and we are recycling far less than we should. So the last statistic I pulled was 70.4% of high-tech waste. So there are devastating photos of countrysides in Africa where our waste is recycled. There are pictures of China where some ladies desolder boards. It's a crazy world on its own. So we need to be really better on that. And probably on the one end, we need to have extended life of our digital infrastructure, our tools that we are using. I mean, a phone that lasts for 30 years. Oh, hallelujah. I'd like to have this as a smartphone, like not just these release cycles of 6 years and then the software renders the actual hardware obsolete. And then I have to kind of find my way around that. So we need to tackle the high-tech waste, and we need to tackle the PCB boards. So these are the printed circuit boards that are kind of difficult. Someone wants to come in. So this is a topic on its own, so I just have this one slide on it.
Just to let you know, Dominik, we've got 10 minutes left.
Okay, we are nearly at the end because we are at artificial intelligence. Okay, so the biggest problems are those that we don't know, don't understand, and simply ignore because we don't think of them as problems. The problem is really with artificial intelligence is it's with us for a very long time without us knowing it, when we look back to ImageNet or to Deep Blue or to AlphaGo, this is like decades ago. And then we already had like artificial intelligence there. So the sorting algorithms of Facebook, Instagram, X, former Twitter, they are there for ages. And they get trained and trained and trained. So we are already dealing with the genie that's out of the bottle for a very long time without us actually understanding or knowing that it's out of the bottle. So the current situation is this, that this stuff is now driven by some few companies, especially by the hardware giant NVIDIA. They made billions already with crypto mining, and now with the AI craze, they're one of the main supplier for GPUs. These are the graphics processing units that are required for the artificial intelligence. So this stuff is not run on normal computers. This stuff is run on specialized, graphic processing units. And these things require a lot of energy. So compared to a normal computer, let's say the thermal wattage is like 65 watts of a normal computer, okay? If you are going for a graphic processing unit from NVIDIA or AMD, you are already at like 100 to 400. And we already reached graphics cards for the industrial that pull 1 megawatt. Okay. So when I wrote in the beginning that currently the greenhouse gases that the ICT, the Internet and Communications Technology, contributes are 4%. So it depends on how it's calculated. It's between 1.4 and 4%, depending whether or not the end consumer is calculated within that number. But the numbers there are like prognoses around, and they tend to go to 14%. And, like always, it's not just about AI, it's about servers itself. They need to run on some energy. And while they run on green energy, AI isn't. And also their big companies are not usually going for green energy. They go for cheap, quick and dirty. They are buying their consumption for 1 year for entire plants, like nuclear plants. So this is a different ball game, and it's a different magnitude of what we are seeing there. So I highly recommend the video of Tristan Harris about and Asa Raskin about the dilemma of AI. If you just want to scratch the surface a little and see where we are currently and what social media already did to us, this is the go-to. And the other one that you might want to have a look at is ImageNet, because you have to kind of understand how long AI is actually with us already. Okay, so this just so far. AI in permaculture. So some months back, some of the tutors wrote on the tutors mailing list that they found that one of their students probably has used AI in a diploma design because their language changed. So I would say it's already used in diploma designs. How is the question that's open for discussion, whether it's like for generating ideas or writing specific paragraphs or whatever. What I have seen in social media is a lot of advertisement where images have been AI generated. It's something that's not that simple to spot. You need to know what you're looking at. And the difficulty already is kind of that they are getting really good. I mean, a year ago it was easy to spot. Nowadays, difficult. AI is difficult to avoid because it gets introduced in all kind of SaaS services, so software as a service, platforms that you're using on the internet like Canva or Slack. They introduce AI agents already there. So, and sometimes they do this without actually asking you. So Slack already had an artificial intelligence scandal because of they kind of wanted to use the data without asking the users. So if it's for free, the platform, the chances are, if it's a large for free platform, the chances are that there is already some training happening. So again, this is somewhere hidden in the terms and conditions in the settings. It took me like 5 minutes to find them in Facebook. So it's out there. It's happening. They're doing it, whether we want it or we don't. Way out of it is design. Don't use the SaaS platforms, the standard obvious. Use open source. Use local. You actually can run artificial intelligence on your own computer. Like there are these Olama software where you can download actually open source models, like even those from OpenAI, and then you can run this on your computer. The question is just how much GPU power you have for actually doing that. So not everyone can do it, of course.
Yeah. We should probably close, Dominik.
Yeah, we are actually back. So
okay.
Digital Permaculture, PCSX design, all your principles, tools, processes, everything applies. It's all the same, just the context is different. Yeah, you can find me on Matrix, open source platform, communications platform. This document is available as a PDF. So I will copy the link and hope it works. And
Great.
yeah, thank you, everyone.
Okay,
this was
thanks.
Nice.
Thank you
we're
very
nearly
much.
out of time, so our terms and conditions are we try and stick to the time just because it gets late for people.
Yeah.
There were some questions that came forward, but maybe we could send them to you.
Yeah, I can answer them.
And
yeah.
when we do a kind of sharing of the video to the people that came and people that registered, we could maybe add some of the links and add maybe some bullet points from you about some of the questions that have been asked.
Yeah, of course I can do that. Yes.
That would be great,
Yeah,
because I
my
think
pleasure.
we've had a lot of really good information, and it does raise a lot of really important questions. And I'm certainly going to be going back to the team to say, how can we get our website homepage under 10 megabytes as soon as possible? So
Yeah.
thanks,
Happy to
Dominik.
help. Yes.
I hope everyone's taken
Yeah.
something useful away.